Hello ladies and gentlemen, and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video, it is going to be another movie review. And I am going to be reviewing Death on the Nile. So Death on the Nile is the sequel to the 2017 flick Murder on the Orient Express, once again directed by and starring Kenneth Branagh. And this time around, it's more of the same, another murder mystery whodunit for Mr. Hercule Poirot to solve. And as the title suggests, this time around we're on the Nile. Of course, I'd like to add too that this review, as well as all of my other new movie reviews, are 110% spoiler free, so you can proceed with confidence. Before we hop into the actual review itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my movie reviews. So be sure to check that out, and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so without further ado, let's hop right into things. Okay, so the first positive that I have for this movie is Kenneth Branagh. He is absolutely stellar. He crushes it once again as Hercule Poirot, and showcases his exceptional directing talents as well. I love the choice of location. Yes, I know that it is based on a 1937 novel, so they didn't really have a choice in the location, they're just adapting the novel. But Egypt, the Nile, superb. I adore the style and aesthetic of this movie, both this and the Murder on the Orient Express. I love the style and aesthetic of this movie. Both this and Murder on the Orient Express have impeccable set and costume design that really add a lot of flair and character to the movie. The supporting cast was mostly fantastic. Some of them were a little underutilized, but for the most part, they all get their time to shine and they use their time quite well. The second act really picked things up and had me hooked. Once the actual Death on the Nile takes place, I was totally invested. The last positive that I wanted to address for this movie is that there are some surprisingly emotional beats in here that I really didn't expect, and they actually kind of got to me a little bit and had me welling up. The closing of the movie too, I thought was quite poetic. And now for the negatives, because I do have a few negatives with this flick. The first thing I wanted to address before I got into the negatives though, is that I wanted to say I have not read the Death on the Nile novel, okay? So that is why nothing was mentioned in the positives and nothing will be mentioned in the negatives. I have no comparison, so I don't know if it is word for word identical to the book or only shares the same name and location and nothing else is even remotely similar. I have no idea, so don't expect that to be in the negatives at all because I just don't know. I haven't read it. The first negative I do have though is that it starts off very slow. Not unbearably slow, like I didn't hate it or anything, but it's just a very noticeable first hour. For me, the killer was pretty obvious from fairly early on in the movie, and I don't say from me like I'm some great detective, I mean that I'm usually the complete opposite of that, so if I was able to figure it out pretty early on, I think most people won't have a problem with it. I mean, I guessed it no later than the halfway point into the movie, and I was spot on with who did it and why they did it. I get that with these murder mystery whodunit movies, it is a bit of a fine line to walk, because the movie does need to give us what we need to solve the mystery on our own. Sometimes it's super obvious, sometimes it's the complete opposite of that and comes way out of left field, and sometimes it's just right. This one was in the super obvious category. The last little negative that I have with this movie is that any of the CGI or green screen effects were really rough around the edges. The green screen in particular was very noticeable at points and could be quite jarring. At the end of the day, I went into this movie with little to no expectations at all. I honestly completely forgot it was really even releasing. But I left the theater having actually really enjoyed myself. Do I think it's going to end up among my favorite movies of the year? No, probably not. Because I do imagine that it will be a little bit forgettable as time goes on. However, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed the overall package. Therefore, I'm going to be giving Death on the Nile a 7.5 out of 10. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my review. While you're at it, feel free to let me know what you would score Death on the Nile out of 10. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, and if you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon, that way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe, thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.